This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Friday, August 15th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin prepare for their summit meeting in Alaska later today. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
A list of demands from Texas Democrats and a plan by California's governor. I'm Clayton Neville.
Attorney General Pam Bondi is fired, a Justice Department employee accused of throwing a sandwich at a federal agent. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Florida is opening a second immigration detention facility at a state prison in the northern part of the state. I'm Donna Warder.
Investors a little shaken by a possible move by the White House to have the government take a stake in a private U.S. company. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Officials in Southern Virginia are expressing relief after 3 sheriff's deputies were only slightly injured during a shooting incident. I'm Jennifer King.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Each day this week, there was news out of the White House about the Friday sit-down in Alaska between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin to find a path to peace in Ukraine. Correspondent John Stolnis has the lead-up to the meeting and what's at stake.
We're going to see what happens with our meeting. We have a big meeting, and it's going to be, I think, very important for Russia, and it's going to be very important for us, and important for us only that we're going to save a lot of lives.
President Trump believes Putin is ready for peace, but has warned of severe consequences for Russia if he feels his Russian counterpart isn't serious about ending the conflict in Ukraine.
If I weren't president, in my opinion, he would much rather take over all of Ukraine. But I am president, and he's not going to mess around with me.
While no specific goals have been outlined, the president is hopeful this first meeting will be a launching pad for additional meetings, which would be attended by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and potentially other European allies.
All I want to do is set the table for the next meeting, which should happen shortly. I'd like to see it happen very quickly, very shortly after this meeting. I'd like to see it actually happen maybe in Alaska where we just stay because it's so much easier.
The meeting is taking place at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Anchorage, Alaska, the nation's 49th state, purchased from Russia in 1867. David Salvo of the German Marshall Fund explains why Zelensky and European allies are concerned about their lack of presence at this first meeting.
The first is that the United States sort of accepts lock, stock, and barrel Russian views on what the end game should look like in Ukraine. Number two is, there is some sort of agreement, let's say it's a ceasefire, which is good. We should welcome a ceasefire, but without anything that would reassure Ukraine or our European friends that Russia simply won't regroup its forces.
Some have argued inviting the Russian president to the U.S. is a political victory for Putin, something the Trump administration has pushed back on. But Don Heflin, senior fellow of diplomatic practice at Tufts University, explains why it's a big deal.
We got to remember that Putin, to a certain extent, is a pariah. He can't travel anywhere in the world he wants to. He's under all kinds of sanctions. Just the fact he's been invited to a world power like the U.S. is a big thing.
For his part, Putin has called President Trump's efforts to find a deal energetic and sincere. John Stolnis, Washington.
Texas Democrats have released demands surrounding their potential return to the state capitol following weeks of breaking quorum to delay a vote on proposed congressional maps that could give Republicans 5 seats in next year's midterm elections. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports this comes as California is plotting their own redistricting strategy.
Republican leaders in Texas have made it more difficult for state Democrats breaking quorum to get paid. They've also threatened arrest and explored ousting some of the Dems from office. But with the current special legislative session expected to end today, the Democrats are out with a short list of what it would take for them to return to the Lone Star State. First, the House has to adjourn its session today, as announced that it would by the House Speaker. Second, the introduction of California's redistricting map, which they say would neutralize what they're calling Trump-Abbott voter suppression efforts.
Wake up, America. Wake up to what's going on.
A plan now underway in California. Governor Gavin Newsom accusing President Trump of trying to steal an election.
You will not have a country if he rigs this election. You will have a president who will be running for a 3rd term. Mark my word. I wasn't exaggerating when I said that I received in the mail a Trump 2028 hat from one of his biggest supporters. These guys are not screwing around.
The governor's calling on the voters to decide.
We will affirm our commitment to the state independent redistricting after the 2030 census. but we're asking the voters for their consent to do midterm redistricting in 2026, 2028, and 2030 for the congressional maps.
Meanwhile, in Texas, Governor Abbott promising to call another special session to take up redistricting as soon as the first one ends later today, and seemingly is not intimidated by California's plans.
If California tries to gerrymander 5 more districts, listen, Texas has the ability to eliminate 10 Democrats in our state. We can play that game more than they can because they have fewer Republican districts in their states.
Governor Abbott spoke with CNN this week.
All those big blue states, they've already gerrymandered. Look at the map of Illinois. Look at the map of California, New York, and Massachusetts, and so many other blue states. They gerrymandered a long time ago. They got nothing left.
While speaking with reporters this week, Governor Newsom said that he knows people say don't mess with Texas and added, quote, "Well, don't mess with the great Golden State." I'm Clayton Neville.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. It's the biggest sale of the year, all beds on sale, limited time, only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com. When we return on America in the Morning, kindred spirit for alligator Alcatraz. After these messages. This is America in the Morning. We take you to the Pacific Northwest to begin the nation's forecast with AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Today brings the latest storm on shore in the northwestern U.S., and that means even cooler conditions with some rain in a number of locations from western Washington through much of northwestern Oregon. This rain will be the steadiest and become the heaviest as today progresses near the Washington coast and over the western slopes of the Washington Cascades, where up to 2 to 4 inches of rain may pile up through tonight. However, at least 1 to 2 inches of rain may still fall over northwestern Oregon and west central Washington, including areas just to the east of both Portland, Oregon, and Seattle. To the south and east of there, the southwest monsoon returns with a bit more gusto today as an influx of moisture from the Gulf primes the atmosphere for additional coverage of showers and some downpours from Wyoming southward through Arizona and New Mexico. Places such as Phoenix that missed out on precipitation on Thursday, extending the summer-long rainfall deficit, do have a chance of picking up some needed precipitation later today and tomorrow as well. That same stream of tropical moisture means that rain may turn heavy at times in central and southern Texas later today, with the source of that enhanced rain being a storm pushing northward through the western Gulf. Whether or not this feature develops into a tropical depression or storm, gusty winds near the Texas coast and the risk for flash flooding will develop and expand today. Thunderstorms may turn severe in the upper Midwest later today with hail and strong winds, with a large area of the southeast and mid-Atlantic facing the risk for a thunderstorm in the area, while lower humidity arrives in the northeast. In Wichita, Kansas, expect sunshine and warmth with a high 98. For State College, Pennsylvania, an afternoon thunderstorm can't be ruled out. Otherwise, it's looking rather warm with some sun, high 87. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The removal of some homeless encampments in areas near the White House is underway, and there have been protests in Washington, D.C. over the presence of FBI and National Guard troops on the streets after the White House ordered federal control of the D.C. police. Ed Donahue reports a man accused of throwing a sandwich at a federal agent has been fired from his place of employment, which was the Department of Justice.
Attorney General Pam Bondi has fired a Justice Department employee accused of throwing a sandwich at a federal agent. A video of Sean Dunn berating a group of federal agents late Sunday went viral online. He's facing felony charges. The court filing says he threw a sub-style sandwich at a Customs and Border Protection agent after approaching a group of agents, pointing a finger in an agent's face and swearing at him, calling him a fascist. An observer's video captured Dunn throwing the sandwich at the agent's chest. Bondi wrote, addressing Dunn, "You will not work in this administration while disrespecting our government and law enforcement." The Justice Department still employs a former FBI agent, Jared Wise, who was charged with joining a mob's attack on the Capitol in 2021 and cheering on rioters, repeatedly yelling, "Kill him," as they attack police. Ed Donahue, Washington.
There's Alligator Alcatraz, and soon there will be Deportation Depot. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
Florida is opening a second immigration detention facility at a state prison in the northern part of the state. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says the new facility will be at the Baker Correctional Institution, a state prison some 43 miles west of Jacksonville. The facility, dubbed Deportation Depot, is expected to hold 1,300 detention beds. DeSantis says there is a demand for this. I'm confident it will be filled. Meanwhile, a federal judge is deciding the fate of Alligator Alcatraz, the state's immigration holding center at an isolated airstrip in the Florida Everglades. Environmentalists say building on sensitive wetlands violated environmental laws, and they're asking for an injunction. I'm Donna Warder.
When we return on America in the Morning, the latest read on inflation and the best-selling EV brand in the United States after these messages. Welcome back here with America in the Morning. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger has Friday business. Let's get after it.
Wall Street opens this morning after investors shook off a hot inflation number. The S&P 500 index at a fresh record high by 1 point this morning. Intel shares popped on a Bloomberg report that the Trump administration's interested in taking a stake in that chip company. This as President Trump is set today to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Russian government owns stakes in major companies there, like Gazprom in the energy business and large players in finance and transportation. Here's CNBC's Eamon Javers and Scott Wapner.
It really sounds extraordinary, the idea that by virtue of a government investment into a private company, you'd essentially have part of Intel's business being nationalized.
Yeah, I mean, what you'd be looking at is a semi-nationalization of a major American company. This is the kind of thing a Republican administration of a past generation simply wouldn't have looked at. This administration believes that the president has the authority to tell companies what their HR policies should be, who their CEOs should be, how they ought to conduct their business, where they should build their plants, et cetera, et cetera.
Inflation up more than forecast at the wholesale level last month in the PPI, the Producer Price Index, and some investors worry that this will eventually make its way down to consumers having to pay even higher prices.
Headline number is whoppingly big. Oh, my goodness. Up 0.9%. Boy, that equals June of 22, the COVID-distorted numbers. So we see every single metric is warmer than expected. Every single metric is significantly higher sequentially.
CNBC's Rick Santelli. The Apple Watch getting redesigned with a blood oxygen feature after the resolution of a legal dispute. Cadillac has unveiled the elevated velocity electric crossover concept car. You can see it at CNBC.com. It has gull wing doors and a red interior and unique lighting with an exterior color inspired by glacier ice. It even has fragrance inside. GM's Cadillac is aiming for the cool and wealthy electric vehicle buyer. Cadillac was the best-selling luxury EV brand in the U.S. in the second quarter of this year. On today's watch list, we get the retail sales numbers for July. The English Premier League kicks off, and the NFL has another round of preseason games. Stand Up to Cancer, the fundraising special, will air tonight across most TV channels and networks. New in theaters, Sony's drama East of Wall, A24's drama Highest to Lowest, and Universal's action comedy Nobody 2. Universal's a sister company to CNBC.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, who's behind the computer hack of our nation's court systems after these messages? Investigators learned that Russia is at least partly responsible for a recent hack of the computer system that manages federal court documents, including highly sensitive records with information that could reveal sources and people charged with national security crimes. The New York Times is reporting that the infiltration of America's court system dates back as far as 2021 and includes documents related to criminal activity with overseas ties across at least 8 court districts. It's believed some of the hacks included criminal cases in the New York area. News of the hacks with alleged Russian ties comes as President Trump will be meeting with Vladimir Putin today. 3 Virginia sheriff's deputies are lucky to be alive after they were ambushed attempting to make an arrest in Southern Virginia. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
They were not struck by the bullets, but by shrapnel, it appears. One of the officers was transported to the emergency room just out of an abundance of caution.
Pittsylvania County Sheriff Mike Taylor.
They were there on a warrant service and to serve a protective order. When the deputies and investigators approached the door, just soon after that, they were met with gunfire.
Taylor says the officers are okay.
All 3 are well. Of course, they're shaken up.
Suspect James Andrew Leonard, who was originally sought for brandishing a firearm and trespassing, surrendered after an hours-long standoff. Virginia State Police are investigating the shooting. Audio courtesy WSET. I'm Jennifer King.
America in the Morning for Friday, August 15th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
President Trump is dismissing suggestions the summit already represents a win for the Russian leader. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Black guy or something.
The suspects in the downtown drunken brawl that went viral appearing in court. I'm Bob Brown.
Residents of Washington, D.C. are grappling with the idea of a temporary federal police takeover. Jennifer King, Washington.
Profanity, a racial slur, and now calls for Mullins-McLeod to quit the South Carolina governor's race. I'm Sue Aller.
Bob Odenkirk returns to theaters to fight the bad guys with a little help from his family. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. The desert Southwest expected to receive some heavy showers. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
With more moisture finally lifting northward into the southwestern states, the summer monsoon will kick in with more of full force today after Wednesday and Thursday brought more of a gradual ramp up. Today's more active setup means that both the coverage and intensity of afternoon thunderstorms should increase compared to yesterday from the Four Corners states into Wyoming, perhaps even parts of southeastern Idaho. This more moist pattern, which is currently expected to last through at least Tuesday, should help to reduce the fire risk over time. However, places that do end up getting numerous thunderstorms within this extended period may end up with risk for flash flooding as well. And as always, the risk for lightning will be present within any thunderstorm, so any hikers or other outdoor enthusiasts may want to have a plan to take shelter. In the Northwest, rain can be expected for much of today from western Washington to northwestern Oregon and should even pick up in intensity through the day, especially near the Washington coast and into north-central Washington state. Total rainfall through tonight should reach up to 2 to 4 inches, with showers then extending farther inland into the start of the weekend. Wet weather also builds once again in parts of the Dakotas and the upper Midwest today, with a disturbance rolling along the north side of strong high pressure centered over central and southern parts of the plains. Thunderstorms this afternoon and tonight may turn severe from the eastern Dakotas to western Wisconsin, with hail and strong winds both possible. The risk for more general thunderstorms will extend from south-central Pennsylvania through the mid-Atlantic coast and once again throughout the southeast as some tropical downpours reach much of southern Texas with the risk for heavy rain. However, the northeast instead faces sunshine and lower humidity after a couple of wetter days. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Today's the day President Trump and Russian leader Vladimir Putin will hold their one-on-one summit to discuss the war in Ukraine. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports Putin and Trump will meet at the U.S. military's joint base Elmendorf-Richardson in what the Trump administration hopes is the first step toward peace between Russia and Ukraine.
All I want to do is set the table for the next meeting, which should happen shortly. I'd like to see it happen very quickly, very shortly after this meeting. I'd like to see it actually happen maybe in Alaska where we just stay because it's so much easier. But I think that it's going to be very interesting. We're going to find out where everybody stands, and I'll know within the first 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, or 5 minutes, like we tend to find out whether or not we're going to have a good meeting or a bad meeting. And if it's a bad meeting, it'll end very quickly. And if it's a good meeting, we're going to end up getting peace in the pretty near future.
On the eve of a pivotal meeting with Vladimir Putin, President Trump is dismissing suggestions the summit already represents a win for the Russian leader.
No, I don't think it's a reward. I think that what we have is a situation that should never have started. It didn't start under me, and for 4 years it wasn't even discussed.
But to analysts like Tufts University's Don Heflin,
Putin to a certain extent is a pariah.
And the president's undermining international efforts to isolate Putin.
Just the fact he's been invited to a world power like the U.S. is a big thing. I don't think there'll be any major advancements coming from the summit. I think the best we can hope for is maybe a 30, 60-day ceasefire while the parties talk some more. I'm not even sure that's going to happen.
The German Marshall Fund's David Salvo says there's no question Putin is already the winner.
What is an open question is whether he has the capability in a 3-hour meeting with President Putin, who is extremely savvy, understands the United States and President Trump, I think, quite well, whether he has the ability to sort of push back on what he is sure to be a barrage of Russian talking points and Russian maximalist demands. Putin thinks that he can convince Trump yet again to see his point of view.
In Moscow, Putin praised the president's efforts to end the war, saying the Trump administration's making energetic and sincere efforts to stop the fighting. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The defendants arrested and charged with allegedly taking part in a drunken brawl in downtown Cincinnati last month that went viral made their first appearance in court Thursday, and not without some controversy. Correspondent Bob Brown reports.
He got a black eye or something, huh? Is the other guy still here?
5 of the 6 suspects in the July 26 brawl appearing in court on Thursday, facing charges including aggravated rioting. Some of the defendants could face as much as 30 years in prison if convicted. One suspect reportedly out on bond in a separate weapons case when the incident took place. In court, prosecutors and defense attorneys arguing over the intentions of the brawl.
The catalyst for the bonds in this case is race and politics, not for law.
This case has nothing to do with race. This case has absolutely nothing to do with politics. I'm the most apolitical guy you'll find. This case is about what these people did, what these victims suffered.
Prosecutors calling Jermaine Matthews as the leader of the beatdown. However, Matthews' attorney saying his client was slapped by a white man when the fight began. Fox 19 in court.
Throughout the short duration of this case, several defense counsels said that racial epithets were thrown at these people. That was 1 minute and 47 seconds into this brutal beatdown. Were the words said? Yes. Were they inappropriate? Absolutely. But these poor people were being assaulted, stomped, WWE-style elbow drops onto pavement.
This is a typical fist fight case that you have in Cincinnati time and time again. This case is being treated differently and inappropriately because of race and people trying to acquire and obtain political gain for their selfish reasons.
Police continue to investigate the incident. I'm Bob Brown.
A man accused of faking his own death and fleeing the United States to avoid rape charges faced his accuser in Utah court and then learned his fate from the jury. Correspondent Donna Warder has a follow-up.
Have you reached a verdict in this case?
Yes, we have, Your Honor.
Would you please hand the verdict form to the bailiff? The bailiff will hand it to me, and I will hand it to my clerk to read.
Nicholas Rossi was convicted by a jury in Salt Lake City, Utah, of sexually assaulting a former girlfriend in 2008.
In the state of Utah versus Nicholas Edward Rossi, case number 221-906-768, We, the jurors in the above case, unanimously find the defendant as follows. To count 1, rape, guilty.
Authorities began looking for Rossi in 2018 when he was ID'd through a decade-old DNA rape kit. Months after Rossi was charged in Utah County, an online obituary claimed he had died in February 2020 of non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Police in Rossi's home state of Rhode Island cast doubt on that story, and Rossi was arrested in Scotland the following year and was extradited to Utah in January 2024, insisting he was an Irish orphan named Arthur Knight who was being framed. He appeared in court this week in a wheelchair and using an oxygen tank. The 38-year-old man faces a 5 years to life prison sentence when he's scheduled to be sentenced in October. But before that, he faces trial in September for another rape charge in Utah County. I'm Donna Warder.
Among the stories we're covering next, President Trump attempts to rein in crime on the streets of D.C., and the administration loses a DEI case. Those stories and more when we return on America in the Morning. Back after these messages. The governors of the states surrounding Washington, D.C. have chimed in regarding President Trump's order to have the National Guard patrol the nation's capital, while Maryland's Democrat Governor Wes Moore called Trump a chicken hawk. Virginia's Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin says Trump's actions will make D.C. safer. Correspondent Jennifer King reports some D.C. residents are not happy with the presence of federal troops on city streets.
Residents of Washington, D.C. are grappling with the idea of a temporary federal police takeover. Wednesday night, protesters gathered to wave vehicles away from a checkpoint manned by D.C. and federal officers near 14th and U Streets, a popular spot for dining and nightlife.
You're trying to arrest innocent people? What's your purpose? What's your goal?
Mayor Muriel Bowser has said President Trump's plan to call in the National Guard was not a productive step, but pledged to work alongside federal officials and suggested the surge of resources might benefit the city.
I'm going to rely on the police chief to work with her counterparts to make sure people are being deployed in a useful way.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says about 850 officers and agents fanned out across Washington earlier this week and are already making arrests.
President Trump will not be deterred by soft-on-crime Democrats and media activists who refuse to acknowledge this rampant violence on our streets.
Jennifer King, Washington.
Former President Joe Biden's children are finding themselves in the headlines this week. Correspondent Clayton Neville explains.
President Biden's daughter, Ashley Biden, has filed for divorce from her plastic surgeon husband. The filing reportedly came earlier this week and follows more than 13 years of marriage. Ashley Biden recently made a post on social media with a thumbs up to the song Freedom by Beyonce. This is President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, responds to a threat of a lawsuit by First Lady Melania Trump surrounding allegations Biden made about President Trump being introduced to his wife by disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein.
I don't believe in guilt by association alone, but the connections have become they're so glaringly obvious that I think they're trying to use other things to distract. And I also think they're bullies, and they think that $1 billion is going to scare me.
Biden addressed the potential lawsuit with Channel 5's Andrew Callahan.
If they want to sit down for a deposition and clarify the nature of the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein, if the president and the first lady want to do that, I'm more than happy to provide them the platform to be able to do it.
Lawyers for the first lady call the claims by Biden false. I'm Clayton Neville.
The Trump administration has suffered a court defeat in a case involving DEI. Correspondent Ben Thomas reports.
A federal judge has struck down 2 Trump administration actions aimed at eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion programs at the nation's schools and universities. U.S. District Judge Stephanie Gallagher in Maryland, a Trump appointee, states that the Education Department violated the law when it threatened to cut federal funding from educational institutions that continued with DEI initiatives. The case centers on 2 Education Department memos ordering an end to all race-based decision-making. Gallagher wrote they ran afoul of procedural requirements, but she took no view on the policy's merits. Still, she rejected the administration's argument that the memos simply served as a reminder that discrimination is illegal. Ben Thomas, Washington.
A lawsuit by a former NFL coach regarding discrimination is moving forward. Correspondent Gethin Coolbaugh reports.
A federal appeals court says the NFL can be put on trial over claims that Brian Flores and other black coaches face discrimination. The Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals upheld Manhattan federal judge Valerie Caproni's 2023 ruling that Flores can proceed with claims against the league and 3 teams. In February 2022, Flores sued the league and several teams, saying the league was, quote, rife with racism. NFL spokesperson Brian McCarthy said the league disagrees with the ruling and will seek further review. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
Mark Zuckerberg is claiming that Meta AI is learning without their help and could be approaching artificial superintelligence. Chuck Palm has details in today's Tech Report.
Zuckerberg says they're not releasing anything like that for general public consumption anytime soon. Mark Zuckerberg told Tom's Guide that Meta's systems are starting to improve themselves without human input, in what he believes is a slow but undeniable step towards artificial superintelligence. Given we have yet to see proof of artificial general intelligence, the next logical step, this is a pretty hard pill to swallow. Meta playing it close to the chest as a safety measure means we're not going to see proof anytime soon. Despite Zuckerberg's hype, ASI could unlock mind-blowing discoveries in science and medicine, as an artificial superintelligence would have more combined thought power than every human that ever lived. Meta has other legal concerns to be worried about. Senator Richard Blumenthal and Josh Hawley have called for a DOJ probe after Meta was caught scraping YouTube videos and bypassing privacy laws. Find me at chuckpalm.com.
Here's Friday Sports with America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
Baseball Thursday, Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s 7th inning home run boosted the Blue Jays over the Cubs 2-1. The 2-run shot, just the second hit that Matthew Boyd allowed in his 7 innings to take the hard luck loss. Jose Tena provided some 7th inning magic in the Nationals' 3-2 win over the Phillies. A go-ahead 2-run single turned the tide. Braves eluded the Mets 4-3. Ozzie Albies had a game-tying dinger and a go-ahead run-scoring double.
Same division team, and we just go and play. Play good baseball. Sometimes you just play hard and outbeat the other team. That's it.
Orioles thank the Mariners 5-3. Tomoyuki Sagano getting his 10th win in his first season since crossing the Pacific. He was working on a shutout before a long 6th inning rain delay. Diamondbacks drilled the Rockies 8-2. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. belted a 3-run homer in the first inning. Jose Herrera added a 2-run shot in the second. Tigers rallied past the Twins 4-3 in 11 innings, and the Guardians turned back the Marlins 9-4. Golf's FedEx Cup playoffs, second stage, the BMW Championship outside Baltimore. Robert McIntyre took advantage of a softer course at Caves Valley after a 2-hour rain delay. The Scotsman sank 6 straight birdies down the stretch, en route to an 8-under 62 to take the first-round lead, 3 shots ahead of Tommy Fleetwood. NFL preseason week 2 begins tonight with 2 games, the Titans at the Falcons and the Chiefs at the Seahawks, each of them looking for their first win of the preseason. 11 games on the slate Saturday, 2 more on Sunday, and then a Monday night matchup. That's Friday Sports.
When we return on America in the Morning, Democrat gubernatorial candidate asked to step aside by his own party after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. The Democrat Party of South Carolina is demanding that one of their own suspend his campaign for governor. Sue Aller reports on the release of video from candidate Mullins McLeod, incoherent and expletive-laden police stop.
In South Carolina, a police video of a newly announced candidate for governor is causing political shockwaves.
That's gonna give you some grace, but no, you ain't getting off yet, bitch. My guess is your on against humanity.
That's Democrat Mullins McLeod during his arrest in downtown Charleston back in May. Police say they found McLeod walking late at night, wearing only underwear and shoes, screaming so loudly they could hear him a block away. Officers say he was incoherent, resisted arrest, and gave fictitious names.
We've all tried multiple. I'll tell you what, you gotta give me a name. Give me Superman sounds good. I'm Superman.
Dash cam video also shows him shouting profanities and a racial slur.
Take these shackles off, these lily white hands for the world to see.
What's your name?
I'm one of the most just humans.
McLeod, a Charleston attorney, was charged with public disorderly conduct and released on bond. Now the South Carolina Democratic Party is urging him to suspend his campaign, saying he should focus on his mental and emotional well-being instead of running. McLeod has not commented on the incident or the party's request. I'm Sue Aller.
Summer will soon be coming to a close, and it cannot end without a movie about a vacation. Entertainment correspondent Kevin Carr has a sneak peek at Nobody 2.
Better Call Saul's Bob Odenkirk is the latest middle-aged actor cashing in on an everyman beating up gangsters with the sequel Nobody 2.
We should do something. Strictly family time.
Come on, kids. It can be an adventure.
Odenkirk plays a former assassin trying to live a boring suburban life. While paying a debt to the mob, he takes his family on vacation and stumbles into a local crime ring.
You didn't take your family there, did you? Yeah.
This comedy action subgenre can be a lot of fun, and this sequel ramps up the whimsy, not falling into the darkness that some movies do.
I just want a break. On vacation!
The film is completely absurd with over-the-top characters and unrealistic situations, refusing to acknowledge the basic rules of science or marksmanship. However, being this absurd makes it a cartoon, to the point that the climax takes place in a booby-trapped water park, Home Alone style. And boy, does it work.
After this vacation, we need a vacation.
The cast is spot on, not just with Odenkirk in his conflicted role and Connie Nielsen as his reluctantly understanding wife.
Who sent you? His better half.
Colin Hanks is great against type as a corrupt sheriff, but the MVP is Sharon Stone as the unhinged crime boss.
Find this nobody. Scorched earth.
It's deliciously violent and vicariously cathartic, tapping into everyone's need to protect their family.
Let's do this!
Nobody 2 gets 4 water slides out of 5. I'm Kevin Carr, and that's the way I see it.
America in the Morning for Friday, August 15th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.